Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D.
Brief.
This is the D brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D.
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the podcast for and about Detroit artists and entertainers. I'm Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And on the podcast today, we are talking about Ivy Kitchen and Cocktails. This is a brand new place, and we've got the owner with us, Nya Marshall. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
We're so pleased to talk to you. And you recently had a birthday. Yeah, so happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Did you have a good one?
I pretty much worked. It was kind of a day that is a normal day for me.
I feel like, as you get older, like as an adult, like birthdays are not as big a deal as they used to be.
I still try to make it a big deal.
You do? Yeah,
I do.
I think it's important to make it a big deal. It's the one day where actually something is all about you.
Yes.
And you're not deemed a narcissist for it being all about you.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, it's just the other 364 days that we think you're a narcissist, Becky.
Well, I like to spend like the whole month of my birthday, so you're probably pretty close to the narcissism thing. Yeah.
Well, you can spend your birthday week with us. We're glad you're here. Hang out and have a good time.
Thanks for having me.
Nya, we like to start every episode with a trivia question. Becky, what have you got for us?
So I thought we'd talk about the DIA this week because they are in the news for seeking an early millage renewal. So that's going to be on the ballot this March 10th. The last one was passed 2012. Okay, only 8 years ago. Supposed to be going for another 2 years, but they're seeking early. That has been tremendously successful on a lot of fronts. It's added $23 million to the budget. It ensures free admission for Tri-County, Wayne, Oakland, Macomb residents. Many educational opportunities. For instance, the amount of school kids dramatically went up. 75,000 kids get to go to the DIA for free on DIA buses, et cetera. So it's like $15 a year if you own a house for, $150,000 taxable value. So what I want to get to...
Wait, this is controversial, right? I mean, this is...
It is.
Basically because they said we're going to do it and then it's going to be done. And now they're coming back and saying we
want
need
more money. That's what always happens.
But the thing is, with a 10-year outlook, there's things they couldn't have envisioned. And a huge one was that the city of Detroit filed for bankruptcy. So that was not at all on the table on anyone's radar when they passed the first millage. So at that time, there was a real chance that the DIA was going to sell off. City Council was going to recommend selling off major pieces of art. Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Where did you sell it? Just go to Craigslist and
throw it up on the
eBay.
Facebook marketplace.
Right,
Here's this Picasso for $20 bazillion. Yeah. So I mean, I'm personally for it, but I can see where
some people are like,
sure,
there's
two sides. Definitely.
All right.
So,
all right. Well, we'll let the voters decide that. We'll figure out the trivia.
We'll just focus on the trivia.
I'm sure it'll pass. The last time in 2012 when it passed, it dramatically passed. It wasn't.
It did, except for Macomb County.
Yeah. Because they're probably not going to travel. The usage of it is probably lower.
Different. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm sure it will pass.
So I'm going to
People love the arts.
Go way back. I don't know if this was controversial at the time, but in 1922, the DIA was actually the first museum in America, first museum in the country, to buy a work of art by which of these two artists? Okay, and I got 4 to choose from. 2 of them, they were first purchased by the DIA in 1922. A. Monet, B. Van Gogh, C. Matisse, or D. Cezanne.
I so thought it was going to be Charles Schultz.
That would make sense, actually. Why not, right? Matisse, maybe. I don't know.
What was the year?
1922. But the important part is that the DIA was the first museum in the country to purchase a piece by 2 of these famous, now famous artists.
So 2 of these answers are right.
Correct.
And go through the choices one more time.
Monet.
Okay.
Van Gogh.
Matisse.
Cezanne.
I'm not even sure what the last 2 are. Do you know?
I kind of know a little bit about Matisse, and obviously I don't think it's the first 2, oddly enough. So I could be wrong, but
they have Van Goghs over there, though.
Yeah, but 1922,
that's early.
Being the first to purchase them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay.
I mean, but I could be wrong. Let's find out.
All right. So we got to put in the guess.
So she's going with Matisse and Cezanne.
I'm going with you because, sure.
You don't know? Okay. I'm the only art history degree holder here.
Well,
It's actually Van Gogh.
is it really?
And Matisse.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured Matisse, though. Yeah, I kind of knew
Van
that
Gogh's
one.
a little bit earlier, but he still was. I mean, it took a while.
I'm shocked by that because
Took
it
a
is
while.
much earlier work. And
Yes.
so I would have thought, especially the location of the work, you know what I mean? I would have thought that it would have,
I know.
gotten
Surprising,
purchased
right?
somewhere else first. But
Yeah.
it's good to know. Detroit's the first for many things.
Yeah.
Including owning a Van Gogh.
There you go.
There you go.
So, Nya, I want to jump right into Ivy Kitchen Cocktails. Tell us just about the restaurant. I find it fascinating how you got the name and just, the intentional menu you came up with, all that, your concept. Let's talk about it.
So, Ivy Kitchen and Cocktails, we are located at 9215 East Jefferson Avenue. We are about 8 minutes from downtown Detroit and 8 minutes from Grosse Pointe. And oddly enough, we do get a segment of that whole corridor coming to visit us. We also get people as far away as from Ohio and things of that nature. We've gotten, people from all over, San Diego, New York, New Jersey. We've, our name and our reputation is growing rapidly. And thanks for the love, everyone. I do appreciate that. But obviously, Ivy has grown out of love for the community. It's grown out of my love for the city that I was born and raised in. The concept of it is literally about our community, the multiculturalness of it, if you will. And so it's indicative of many cultures and many flavors. That's why the cuisine, I hate to use the word fusion because chefs hate that word. Mm-hmm. So we are a new American, if you will. We are the new Detroit, if you will. So it is indicative of that. So the food concept is simply that. We have traditional American concept food, such as burgers, chicken, sandwiches, and things of that nature. But we also have Mediterranean, Asian, Spanish dishes, all that's indicative of what Ivy is.
Nice. And how did you come up with the cocktails and the flavors and how did that present itself? Was it after you hired a chef or?
So a lot of it stemmed from, some of the baseline concepts of the food stem from my own background. So like I stated earlier, I am from Detroit. I consider myself a West Sider. I was born on the east side. I lived on the east till I was 13, 14, and then I lived on the west side. So I've been all around Detroit. Oddly enough, what a lot of people who are not from Detroit don't know is on the east side back in the day, you could have a farm, you could have a chicken coop and things like that right in your backyard. We had that, you know what I mean? So we had our milk delivered daily. This organic thing, the canning thing, all of that is something that isn't new to me or new to my life or new to my family. So a lot of the things that we have stems from flavors of my flavor profile from my upbringing. And then, of course, when I hired a chef, my executive chef, his name, here's a quick shout out, is Terrence McDonald. He hates it.
Yay, Terrence.
He actually was a study under Matt Prentice, who we all know who Matt is, and he's fantastic, and as well as Terrence, my executive chef is. And
well, wait a minute. Let's because I'm not a Detroiter originally.
Okay.
Tell us who Matt Prentice is in case I'm,
Yeah.
there are
So
other people out
those
there
who
may
don't
not
know, Matt Prentice is actually, he kind of pioneered the seafood restaurants around town. So Coach Insignia, the London Chop House, Northern Lakes. There's a Merriweather, which is a still fantastic restaurant who doesn't get enough credit. It's these things, even though they're not his today, but these are things that he kind of pioneered. So yeah, a lot of the menus and recipes are still there, are his. Yeah.
And I love how you got your name. So can you tell people where the Ivy came from?
So not only do I own my restaurant, but I own the building that Ivy is housed in and the building next door to it. And so I didn't buy my buildings from the city of Detroit. I actually purchased them from an older gentleman named Mr. Jeter that owned a lot of real estate on the east side. And oddly enough, he had 9 kids and he had a huge real estate portfolio, but his kids were not into real estate. And, he was trying to find ways to continue his legacy. And he was very selective about who he would sell his real estate parcels to. And so I was selected finally after months of vetting. Needless to say, when I purchased the buildings, obviously they had been dilapidated for quite some time. And my development company, which is called Diamo, which means did it on my own, is called Diamo Development Group. And what we do primarily is we focus on buildings that have not been loved around the city of Detroit. We don't think demolition is the last choice for us. We believe in the restoration process and the lead process of doing everything sustainable as well. And so when I purchased the buildings, they had ivy leaves all over them, and the city kept giving me shit.
That's okay. It's not radio.
Kept giving you the stuff.
Yeah, about the leaves, and I'm going like, how do I get rid of these leaves, and why are the leaves here? This is an urban area. Why are they here? And so I just, I kept getting citations about that and many other things, and so I have an automotive background, and the engineering me just didn't understand it, and so did what a normal person would do, and I went and researched as to why are the leaves here. So my building was built in 1928, and before that, the whole entire corridor of Jefferson Avenue, all of it, from downtown Detroit all the way to the Grosse Pointes, all of that was farmland. And so one of the things that they farmed were these ivies. Mm-hmm. And so it was used in teas and healing, and it was used in all these weird and odd places that it's no longer used today. And so what the light bulb went off in my head, and I realized that there had been no new plants since the beginning of the 19th century.
Wow.
And that they were still here. So then I became, it was a bit cinematic for me, whereby I was uncomfortable taking the leaves down. And so I did take the leaves down in the front, but if you go into the side or the back of the building, the leaves are still there. But the notion that this had been around longer than the building even existed and nothing new had been planted and they're still growing.
Those are some strong leaves.
Absolutely. But it also shows you the soil regeneration process of the city of Detroit and all these things. I know we're on a brownfield, but there's still a lot of life and a lot of love in our soil.
Nature takes over.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Absolutely.
Now, to that end, you spoke about sustainability, and I was excited to learn that you're
88% zero waste.
Zero waste,
So we don't have, we use very little paper. We don't even have straws yet. I've been fighting with my management team about getting metal straws and plastic straws and things of that nature, but we're going to implement some type of straw. But we recycle our food waste. Our food waste does not go to the landfill. All of our organics is converted to compost, which we will then repurchase for our flower beds and things of that nature.
Perfect.
So it's a full closed loop cycle, so nothing is wasted.
And what about like takeout containers? Probably you chose those really thoughtfully.
All of it are sustainable. The thing about takeout containers, obviously that's a hard decision because you can use a lot of different materials. You have recycled plastics. Anything recycled is still great.
Sure.
You have sustainable compostable packaging, which really, again, my business partner is Passion Murray in the sustainable world. And we have static piles of compost. So I see the compostable dishes. It doesn't break down as quickly as people think. It still takes 10 years or 12 years to break down. Not as bad as plastic, obviously, but it still takes a very long time. So I struggle with that on a continuum on whether I should be reusing recycled plastics. But we try to do our best that we can. But we are a waste aversion restaurant.
What is the biggest challenge in that?
The biggest challenge is you don't want anything going to the landfill. Yeah. Simply put, because when you do that, you have carbon offsets. You have your carbon footprint is just lower. All of it is lower, and so I don't personally want. And this is a good thing. Our food breaks down really fast because most of it's organic. It's farm to table. Our deliveries are daily. It's all fresh. So with that being said is it doesn't need to go to the landfill. There's literally zero purpose for it to go to the landfill.
Exactly.
And so it's all recycled and converted to compost.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Nya, we're going to do some shout outs here. This is something that we do on the show. We like to just recognize people locally who are doing something that we think is cool. Becky, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Mark Stryker. So recently he was named that he will be inducted into the Michigan Journalism Hall of Fame.
This is the guy who's writing for the Free Press for a couple decades. 20
years, yes. He was the Detroit Free Press arts reporter and music critic. And he's written a couple books, Jazz from Detroit, and the new one about the 100 Years of Orchestra Hall. So well-deserved. And it really highlights people who have advanced the legacy of a free press and like responsible journalism and, have had a positive impact. So he, and I think there's 5 others, are going to be inducted in April to the Michigan Journalism Hall of Fame.
We had him on the podcast last fall, and I'll be honest, I don't know anything about jazz. It is not my world. I was an alternative rock and hip hop guy growing up. So I do not know about this world, and we had him on, and the conversation I thought was riveting.
It really
was one of my favorite interviews.
He made it so accessible and interesting.
He really did. He's a fascinating guy. So we're actually going to have him back on later this week. You'll have an opportunity to talk to him later this week.
Absolutely, that'd be great. And I love the word community in the title of his book because it's indicative of who I am.
Right.
I think as the older you get, the more you just feel compelled where everything you do has to have a benefit to the community.
Exactly.
And just making that information, even for those of us who are not aware, bringing that level of awareness of it is just remarkable.
Cool. Well, Nya, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
I do, actually. A good friend of mine, she's got a brand that she's been around. It's been around a long time. And the reason I really want to give the shout out to her is because she is just an avid lover of Detroit and all things Detroit. And she loved Detroit even when no one else did. When it was just, you would get on a plane and people would say, "Oh, you're from Detroit," and they would be afraid, or they'd be like, "Why do you live there?" And she's just been an advocate even when it's been difficult. Because it's not easy to advocate for Detroit at some time. It's easy today. It wasn't easy 10 or 15 years ago. And her name is Alicia Williams, and her brand is Alicia Keys to the City. You can find her on Instagram at Keys to the City Detroit or Alicia Keys to the City. She's fantastic. Definitely pick up some of her gear. She has a store on 6 Mile near Southfield called the D Spot, of course.
Oh, yes.
In Detroit. And you should definitely go in there, pick up some of their gear. It's fantastic. It's just Detroit love all through and through.
That's awesome. I want to give a shout out to Anana. Anana is the new polar bear that's over at the Detroit Zoo. Finally came out to play last week. It was International Polar Bear Day. Yeah, she's 19 years old. She came from Cincinnati. I don't know how we feel about polar bears from Ohio, but I guess we'll take it.
I think, yes.
It's okay.
That's neutral.
We'll make an exception for that. And she's joining Nuka, who's the 15-year-old male there. So
there might be some love connection they're hoping for.
I don't know how that all works with polar bears, and I don't know. Maybe they've got a camera over at the zoo. You can find out.
I'm sure they do.
Nya Marshall is the owner of Ivy Kitchen and Cocktails, which is over there at 9215 Jefferson Avenue. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're going to be hanging out with us all week. We're really happy to have you here.
Lots to talk about.
So we'll have you back tomorrow. Want to let you know that we have a mobile app. Just go into your app store, whether you're on an iPhone or an Android phone, and download that. There's lots of bonus episodes, extra stuff that you can hear in there that you don't get in the regular podcast.
Yeah, in fact, we have like 2 bonus episodes just this week going up that you want to hear the whole thing. So
great conversation. So go check it out. We are ending every episode now with a song from a local artist. Becky, what have you got for us?
So this song is called Blinded by a band called No Justice. They're a Detroit rock band. So if this rock ballad has you thinking maybe modern day Motley Crue feels, you'll enjoy knowing that they once made the top 30 out of over 9,000 bands competing in an onstage Motley Crue contest in Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's 9,000 bands.
And they made the top 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
9,000. Good for them. Good for them.
Good for Motley Crue.
I know, right? Yeah. The influence is wide ranging. So enjoy this song called Blinded.
All right. Until tomorrow, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
You know she only comes out at night. Bored aside, I'll let you know. Never knowing what's on her mind, but I hope in time she'll let me know. Well, every second of the special moment, will it all really matter as much as it does to me? Yeah. And will she be here in the morning after? Is my heart gonna shatter like a bad dream? I'm blinded, and something that means more something missing. Lord, help me see. Lord, help me see. Glad that you showed tonight, for the time is right to take her home. We light the candles, turn out the lights. Yeah, for tonight she won't be alone. Yeah, with every second of the special moment, will it all really matter? As much as it does to me, yeah. 'Cause our life doesn't last forever, so live it happily ever after. No guarantees. 'Cause I'm blinded to something that means more than this world to me. And it feels like something missing. Lord, help me see. Lord, help me see. Lord, help me see. Whoa, yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I'm blinded, yeah. Lord, I feel that I'm falling in love. Whoa, 'cause I'm blinded, yeah. Lord, I feel that I'm falling in love. Whoa, 'cause I'm blinded, yeah. Lord, I feel that I'm falling in love.
The debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.